Welcome everyone to episode 34 of Kerbal Space Program First Contract. Now you'll remember from episode 33 that we now have an asteroid, a Class C asteroid at that, in orbit around a rather rocky looking minmus. And that's a substantial part of our contract. Now we still need to build the new orbital station, and that orbital station needs to be on a Class C asteroid. Okay, we've done that. We need to have a research facility, and at least 9 Kerbals should be able to stay on this station. Now we have 3 Kerbals, our intrepid crew of Bill, Jeb and Bob, so I'm hoping this asteroid counts as cross-feed capable. So building our various sections into this asteroid will count as one station, because I don't know how we're going to cram on multiple parts if not. But let's worry about that when the time comes. I think the next thing to do is to build a 6 Kerbal component to slap on the other end of this asteroid. So I'll see you in the VAB in a few minutes. Well, welcome to the new VAB, the new upgraded VAB. We haven't built anything in the VAB in Beta Forever, but here it is. But most of the basics are still the same. So let's begin with this probe core. That's going to be the stage around which we are going to build everything else. And that everything else includes a science module, because we know that the lab is required as part of our contract. And we're also going to need a hitchhiker module. Now, where can we find the hitchhiker storage can? There we go. Because that will contain 4 Kerbals, so there's our total of 6 Kerbals that we're after. So that's a good start. So those are pieces we're going to have to put together. Now let's put on our usual additional parts. We usually have a large SAS unit for these parts. And of course we'll also need some batteries. Now batteries, I think, are down here at the end. Yep, there we go. So we've got a battery. We will also need food and water. Now, just for the simplicity's sake, we will take the combined units, if I can find them in all of these parts. There we go. Life support container. That's the medium one. So we want the large waste container. Let's just move that out of the way for a second. And the large life support container. That should be plenty for our crew. So let's put all that together. So that's our main section of payload. Now I think what we'll do is we will put a battery on the bottom like so, because I think we're going to need a lot of power for this section. We also need our can't do without panels, so we'll have 4 of those for minimum power generation. We can't do without those, as you well know. So what else do we need in this vehicle? Now, one of the other things we'll need is, let's go and find it. We'll need this nose cone, but I don't particularly, I say nose cone, I mean the grabber unit, but I don't like sticking that just slap on the front. So what I'm, just to make things a little bit neater, let's just put that on like so, and that'll give us our basic payload with the grabber on top. So I think that does fine for that. Now we could just stick the decoupler on the bottom there, but I actually prefer to, let's get the right parts, is to put a Clampetron Senior on the bottom here, which means if we bring up any other units, they'll be able to attach on the bottom like so. Now of course we are going to have to get this thing to the asteroid. So what I thought we'd do is we borrow a design that I've seen the old gaming geezer doing, which uses not 4 but 2. Let's just get these. Should we use these? No, let's use the structural pylons, because we're not going to be separating them. Let's just use these pylons. We'll have 2 of these like so. Get the fuel tanks, these larger fuel tanks. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the nuclear engines But we're not going to use just one of each. What we're going to use these bi-couplers. And if we rotate these bi-couplers the right way around, we can get on 4. So let's just put 4 nuclear engines on here. So that's 2. Pick up and grab 4. So there we go. There's 4 nuclear engines. And that'll do us just nicely for our transfer and insertion stage. So it's coming together quite nicely. But what else do we need? We'll sort out the staging a little bit later. But of course we do need, from the science section, good old Kerbal engineer. So let's just put one of those on. Let's put that on there. So that'll give us our readouts. And 2,525 is plenty for orbital insertion, so we're doing well for that. But we are going to have to maneuver. So we do need some RCS. So let's go and get some RCS tanks. Now, we don't have any RCS at all, so what we could do is put one of the larger tanks here in the middle, just as a supply. Not necessarily just for this particular craft, but as a supply for our station if we're bringing any other craft to and fro. Of course, we now need to put on our thrusters, and knowing where our centre of mass is going to prove very helpful. So we have our centre of mass, we have our universal thruster block. Now, if that's the centre of mass, what we'll do is we'll have 4 and position them around the edge. Now, if we put 4 there, where is 4 equidistant? That doesn't look equidistant. There, maybe? Can't quite see. Wish there was some sort of alignment block, but that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Now we will lose some fuel from these tanks, so the centre of mass will go down a little, which will then bring the centre of mass down, making these slightly further off. So what I think we'll do then is we'll actually bring these down a little to compensate. So we'll put those in there like so. So it's probably a little short right now, but when some fuel's gone from these tanks, they'll be much more aligned. Brilliant. Okay, well that's that. No, we don't want centre of thrust, we want to switch that off. That's that little bit done. Now what else do we need? Well, I think we need some docking ports for smaller vehicles. So let's get our standard docking ports, so that if we're going to bring in any supply vehicles, we'll have somewhere to dock them. Oops. We'll have somewhere to dock them, as I was saying. Now we will double check our centre of mass in case we change it too far, but I think that should be okay. Let's just go to the structural section and lock these in place like so. That's 2, excellent. So we have those locked in place. We have docking ports. Lights. Lights, yes. Now we do need some lights, because we are going to have to dock this, I say dock, crash this into the asteroid. So we will need some lights facing forward there. And given that this is a scientific vehicle, I guess we really ought to have some scientific instruments on it. So let's have, where are we going? 1 seismic monitor. We will need, what else we got? Press mat barometer. I don't think that's actually that useful, given that we won't have an atmosphere, but we'll put it on anyway just to prove it. We could obviously do with a goo container. Now where should we squeeze in a goo container? Let's put a goo container on here. I know that's not symmetrical, but I don't think with this size of vehicle 1 goo container is going to be that much of a problem. And of course we could do with a transmitter. So let's get the transmitter here over the top for local transmissions. And that should be just fantastic. Now, electricity generation. We're going to need some electric panels, and these gigantor panels, 2 of those, will fit in here just nicely. So they will supplement our can't do without panels. And I think that's our upper stage more or less sorted. Yeah, more or less sorted. Let's hope so anyway. Right, now we do need to sort out this staging. Now we don't really want to stage those unless we absolutely have to, so we'll put those at the top, and that's going to be our launch stage right here. That's that one there. So let's get this named and saved. This is the Minmus Science Platform. Let's save that and crack on with the lower stage. Now for the lower stage we're going to go for a bit of nostalgia. We're going to go with the big orange tanks, because big orange tanks are good. Now if we're going to put the giant engine, here we go, the mainsail, these have a tendency to overheat with all the orange fuel rushing into them, as we know. So we'll go and get the little tuna can tank just to slip in the middle there to prevent that little overheating issue. Next we'll put on our asparagus staged outer tanks, and they can be orange tanks as well. Very orange craft this will be. So there we go. And for slightly more efficient launch, go to the engine section and we will get the skipper engines, and we'll put those on the base there. Now, asparagus staging. We do need fuel lines for asparagus staging, so let's just slip in here. Helps if you actually pick up the fuel duct. And just slip that in like so. Lovely and straight, that'll do nicely. Marvellous. What else do we need? Well, I think we probably need to sort out our staging. So let's put those down there. And this gives us just under 4,000 delta V. So not quite enough to get us into space, but we have plenty of delta V in this upper section, because we only need about 1,200 or so, perhaps not even that, to get us to Minmus. So I think we'll have some spare in this upper stage, so we'll stick with that. Of course, we need some struts. Make sure those tanks are nice and secure. And to be doubly sure, let's squeeze in here at the bottom and just attach another pair of struts like so. That just keeps the bottom section in securely. Now, with these sort of very large stages, I do like to use separatrons, and the reason I like to use separatrons is these top sections here tend to, get them right way around, fall inwards when they're staged, resulting in, well, catastrophe. And that's not good. So let's make sure these are in the right stage. We don't want them firing on launch, we want them firing on separation. Much better. I think you'll agree. Much better. And I think now we need some launch stabilizers. So we'll put a pair of launch stabilizers like so, and another pair like so, and just make sure they are all in the right stage. Quickly save our wonderful design absolutely fantastical design. And I think we're more or less ready to go. A couple of things left to do. Move this out of the way at the moment. Firstly is we can't do without a crew. We need a crew of 6, and these containers don't automatically fill. So good old Hadbart, Gussel, Elong, Johnfrey, Shellman, Anby. They are our lucky few, our 6 lucky few. Now last, I think we need on our custom 9, as we always do, put our panels on custom 9. Can I click them? Yep, there we go. So let's toggle the panels and save that. So that's the panels sorted. Now I did say we'd go back and check our centre of mass. Now of course it's moved considerably since we've got this tank attached. So let's just pull that out of the way a second. We can see our RCS thrusters are a little bit closer here than they are here. But when we've lost some fuel, centre of mass will fall and they should be much more aligned. So that's good. I like that. Well, I would like it if I could attach the bottom stage. Quickly save it again. Now let's just double check. Pick that up. Come on, up you come. Double check our staging. Now we have the large main cell there at the bottom. Our 2 skipper engines. And our launch stabilizers. That's our main first stage. Now in our second stage we have these tanks separating, and they will be helped to separate with the separatrons. And then in this stage, don't need that, when that stage fires, these engines will fire as well, and hopefully we will never file those stages. So that is looking good. Quickly save again, and let's go on out to the launch pad and get our science crew off to our new asteroid science base. I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back. Due to a problem with the new Intern and his ability to record video, we missed the launch of the Minmus Science platform. But here we are, on approach to Minmus, so let's get ourselves sorted out for that final approach. Now we can see here periapsis is still pretty high, but we're going to need to do quite a delicate rendezvous with this craft, since we already know that the asteroid is going in the wrong direction around Minmus, so we'll worry about that when we actually encounter Minmus and have an accurate trajectory. I'll see you in a moment. Well, we've just arrived in the Minmus sphere of influence, and you can see our trajectory takes us in on a pretty hefty angle, but then you can see that the asteroid hunter is also on a similar angle, so we're going to have to do a little bit of jiggery-pokery to get all of these vehicles to line up and get our final approach. So first things first, let's get ourselves captured. So we'll set up a standard maneuver node. Let's center on Minmus. Set up a standard capture maneuver node. Just pull back. There we go. So that just pulls back on the retrograde marker. So 507. That's probably a little too far. Let's get it down to a roughly round circular orbit. And from there we'll be able to make our adjustments to bring both of our vehicles into alignment and hopefully to orbit. Now we may as well make, oops, I hate doing that. We may as well make an alignment adjustment to bring us a little more into equatorial orbit. So there we go. That's eyeballing that looks about right. We can check it with Kerbal Engineer when the time comes. Let's get rid of the vessel stats for the moment and just keep an eye on our maneuver node. Now here's our vehicle. Let's get all lined up using the new smart SAS that comes with the latest software, the latest firmware for Kerbal Space Program. Now it's a pretty hefty machine, so it swings well past the maneuver node. Now we've got 176 meters per second of delta 3 to burn, and we have plenty available. I say plenty, that's about 30%, but hopefully we'll be okay. I say hopefully we'll be okay. We may have to send up a refueler, but we'll worry about that when the time comes. So we're all lined up. Now it says 2 hours to our node. I've got no idea how long this is going to take to burn, so we'll see when we get there. So if we start, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, we're not going to get a particularly circular orbit on this approach, so we'll just go when we arrive. So let's make use of time warp and bring us as close as possible to our maneuver node. So if we're a minute or so out, that should be fine. So we can see Minmus there in the background. Speed up again, 1,000. It's coming down, 130, 120, 1 hour, 33 minutes, 30 minutes, there we go, we've got 30 minutes till the maneuver node, 25. Guys look a lot happier now, they're getting closer to their destination. 15 minutes. There's 10. Still looking good for our maneuver node. So there we go. We're pretty much on our maneuver node now at closest approach. So let's just hit maximum. Now I've noticed, as you can see, this smart SAS from, I'll blame Kerbin for this, is a little bit twitchy. You can see how it makes a lot of very tiny adjustments. So I'll have to report that back to the manufacturers. And there we go. Let's just leave SAS to settle. And we're in orbit. Well, let's check we're in orbit. Yes, we are in orbit. And from the twitching nodes, looks like we're in a fairly round orbit. I mean, it's not that good, 50 kilometers off, but it'll do. And our inclination is 178, so it may well be equatorial, but not necessarily orbiting in the right direction. As you can see, we're orbiting counterclockwise, or rather counter to the orbit of Minmus. Which is not such a bad thing, as you'll see the asteroid hunter is itself orbiting in the same direction. So, what should we do? I suggest we just get on with the rendezvous. So, first things first, I think we need to level off our asteroid hunter. So let's switch to the asteroid hunter. Bill, Jeb and Bob come into view, and I think it's about time we leveled and circularized their orbit. So let's go to map mode. There they are now. So if we go way out to apoapsis, we'll make our first adjustment, which will be 200, and make this about 250. So we make that 250, so we're going to push the periapsis out to 250. Is that about right? 218, 282, a little bit far, doesn't really matter. 250, there we go. And then what we'll do is we'll find at what point we need to set another maneuver node in order to line up with our Minmus science platform. but I think we're a little bit off here. So let's just do... Oh, mind you, I said that. We were a little bit off with our first attempt to encounter with the asteroid hunter, but we did actually a pretty good job, first attempt. So maybe we should have a go with our first attempt here. I can't believe... No. We are completely on opposite sides of the encounter. But let's see if we try resetting our position here. No, that's the wrong way. We're not... I say we're not that far off. We have an intersect here. So I wonder if we could change this in any way to bring that closer together. How far is that? 27 kilometers. Oh, wrong way. So we're now more or less in plane. Let's bring Minmus into the centre of the view. And how far is that? 11 kilometers. This is not bad. 10 kilometers. 9. 11. So we're just out a little. 4.1. Do you know, I really should trust Jeb to do these manoeuvres. 3.1. Now what we're going to have to do is when we approach, closest approach, is swap over to the other vehicle and use that, because I think it's probably a bit more manoeuvrable than trying to dock the asteroid to the science platform. I don't really think it works that way around. 1.7. Now, I'm not quite sure why I'm doing this fine adjustment, because, well, I've said my skills aren't that great when I've managed to get an encounter straight away. So perhaps, again, I should... Look at that! 9 meters per second. Fantastic. And we've got 154 left in Jeb's vehicle. We are going to be pretty short on fuel. So let's get this thing turned around. Pointing ready in 41 minutes. Let's get maneuver nodes over here on the left. Round we go. Make sure we're not running out of electricity. That would be monopropellants running out, but we have a big supply of monopropellant on the platform, so that's not so bad. Just conscious we might need some for last minute manoeuvring. So I'm going to switch that off now. And just bring us in. So we have 40 minutes. So with the marvel of time acceleration, we'll go down pretty much to the wire. Plenty of food, water and oxygen for the guys, so they'll be safe for, for a good few days. We can check that with the tax live support monitoring window. There we go, 851 days. Electricity is the thing they'll run out of first, so we're perfectly safe there. 20 minutes to go. Let's just pop another dot on time. Time warp, come down a little bit quicker. 10 minutes. 5. Come down, here we go. Just line up that last little bit. I mean, the wobble in the craft is making it almost impossible to line up. Come on. Wobble back the other way. If only the serene music made me feel as serene flying this craft. There we go. got fuel in the tanks, so let's just gently throttle up. And just gently let out our delta V. There we go. So, how did we do? 12 kilometers. I think we're going to need to make a slight adjustment. Well, what I think we'll do is we'll switch back to the science platform and make our adjustment from there. Right. So with the asteroid hunter as target, there's our manoeuvre. It's recalculated it as being 14 kilometers. So let's just set up a new manoeuvre here. Why is that? Set up a new manoeuvre here, because that would have been on the next circuit, the next orbit. So let's make our adjustments here. Wrong way. Bring the planes together. Minus 1.7 went too far. Just want them to flip over. Minus 0.2. 13 kilometers, okay. So let's see, slightly faster arrival or a slightly slower arrival? 8 kilometers. 7, 3. Cool, look at this. 1.2, 1.6, too much. 1.7, just bringing it back very gently. 1.2. At the tiniest, 1.5 meters per second. Now again, we've got plenty of delta V in this vehicle. So let's use the Smart SAS built into the new firmware of the new craft. Taking its time swinging the long way round. But it is a very bulky craft. Now on this craft we could probably afford to use the RCS because we've got tons of the stuff. 750 units. Now where are we in the orbit? Here we go. So we've got 1 hour and 12 minutes before we arrive at this manoeuvre node. So again we'll bring up time warp. Watch it coming down here. 35, 33. Minutes. 5 minutes. Oops, slightly over. Never mind, only got a tiny amount of delta V to use. There we go. 1.5 kilometers. I think that should be fine. Now, although we are going the same way round in the orbit, we are going at quite an angle to the orbit. So when we arrive, we are going to have quite a large target velocity to burn off, but hopefully we should be fine. That's what they all said. So let's march our way around this orbit and see if we can get docked up. So again, let's use time warp to bring our science platform around. As we watch the asteroid hunter with asteroid in tow, although which is which I'm not quite sure, come around to meet us. Here we come. Slow down the time warp a little bit just to get it into control. Now we can use the vessel display, the rendezvous display, we are going for a ship, asteroid hunter. And here they come. So let's bring down time warp, and we can see our relative velocity, 66 meters per second, and our distance is 14 kilometers and falling. Now we reckon we can get this down as low as about 1 kilometer, 1.5 kilometers. So we'll let the two drift together. We'll get SAS on. And we'll get ourselves lined up on retrograde, ready to slow ourselves down. There we can see Minmus, and we can see our target 11 kilometers away and falling. We have plenty of electric charge, so we won't run out of SAS power. Fuel is a little bit limited, so let's hope we can do this in one pass, which is why I wanted to let it get as close as possible before we start making some very wasteful adjustments, I suspect. So 8 kilometers, we'll just give a little bit of a tick on time warp just to bring us in. Guys down there on the right looking very happy. Their mission almost at an end. So let's just start slowing ourselves down. I don't want to overshoot. So 2 meters per second, just killed the engines there. So let's rotate and begin our slow but inexorable manoeuvring towards our target. Now, just to help, I'm going to switch the RCS on, just to help us with the turn manoeuvres. So let's now move towards our target. And again, just let ourselves drift in. We will turn retrograde. I said the RCS would help, I'm not so sure. So 4 meters per second towards the target, just switch the RCS off and just drift ourselves back in. 2.9 kilometers, 2.3, here we are, 1.5 kilometers. So let's just slow up. So we're almost at a dead stop now. And then let's point towards our target. 1.4 kilometers away. I think it's time to get optimistic and on the grabber. Switch the RCS off again and just send ourselves back towards the asteroid. Again, a little time warp. I'd rather time warp than increase velocity. There we go, coming up to 1 kilometre. Just start to see the outline of the asteroid and the asteroid hunter. 850, so let's get turned around. Still have a fair amount of fuel left, and we have plenty of RCS, although we are getting through it. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Tempt fate. So let's just speed up time a little. .700 meters. So I think we'll now... What? What? We've lost our contract! Oh no! Oh, our contract must have expired. Oh no. After all this time our contract expired. Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, that's going to bring bring this to an unhappy end, hey Erlong? Oh dear. Oh, best laid plans. Well, let's complete the mission anyway. We're here now. We can still do useful science. I'm sure we can. Oh dear. 200. So let's just slow ourselves down. And get facing the target. So we waited so long for an asteroid to arrive, and then the moment we've captured it, the moment we're just about to complete it, it expires. Well, I can blame the intern for that. Maybe I can't. But let's get this thing sorted. So, 260 odd meters to go, approaching it 1.8 meters per second. A rather sparkly asteroid, the sun glistening off the ores in its surface. Speed up time a little. 200 meters. We can just see here the asteroid hunter. I say we can see the asteroid hunter there. That was the asteroid, and glistening off the metallic surface of the asteroid hunter. So we'll just slow up now and then come in for our final docking. So let's target the centre of mass of the asteroid. Let's hope this sorts itself out. Very fidgety controls. So let's go into docking view. And we'll go into chase camera mode. We'll just put the stability assist on, we'll leave it for manual control. So let's bring ourselves across now. I think it's swinging around a little because we lost more fuel than we anticipated. So it's finding it difficult to keep things straight. Need to come up a little. There we go. Switch the lights on, get a little light. Steady ourselves. Slow down vertically. Still going up a little, aren't we? There we go. So, time to make the grab. I think Gene needs a record of this momentous occasion, even if we did fail the contract. And so let's move forward. There's our prograde marker. I think we're going to miss the asteroid hunter. I think we will move a little bit to the left. And come forward. Lights are beginning to light up the asteroid hunter. I think we need to go down a little. I think we're going to come in a little bit close. So we'll come in just below. Here we go. Starting to light up the surface of the asteroid. And let's ram the asteroid, if that's the technical term. Brilliant. Fantastic. Well done, guys. We made it. We now have a base on a Class C asteroid. It's just a shame. It's just a shame we managed to miss the contract. Well done, guys. You take all the credit, and I take it back. It was never the intern's fault. Well, that brings together, for me, quite an epic mission. And it also brings together the crew, all the guys we've rescued, Bill, Bob and Jeb, floating on an asteroid around Minmus. Now in this series, we didn't get to go to Duna or Jewel or Elu or any of the other outer planets. We didn't even leave the influence of Kerbin. We did, however, manage to do the entire career mode, and in doing so fill out a whole load of contracts, even if we did miss the very last one for building a station on an asteroid. So I hope you've enjoyed this mission. I hope you've enjoyed this series of First Contract, with of course economic boom and a tiny bit of Beta Forever. But I think it's about time to go to another Kerbal universe and look at how other Kerbals manage to go through their career mode and learn all the new skills that Beta Forever and that training program can offer. And hopefully that will lead to a few more adventures on the outer planets. So I'd like to thank you for watching and hope to see you again soon. You take care. Bye-bye.